Hopefully, we get this right this time, my friends. Talking with my homegirl. The Catalyst Awards, the best first gen storytelling of the year. Hopefully, actually, I think I invited the wrong. Hold on, Steph. Sorry, Steph. I sent the invitation to your personal. Okay, it went to first gen and juice now. Here we go.
Hey,
I don't know if you heard.
now hold on.
Okay, what?
We need to turn the camera.
There
Okay,
we
there we
go.
go.
There we go. So my bad. Like I sent it to your personal account at first, but here we are. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. All
Okay.
right. Steph, how you be? Look at the hairs.
Just don't look at the back of the hair.
Hey, look. Bert and Det are saying hello already. What's up, Bert? Can you see the comments?
Yeah.
So Bert is one of our judges, actually. So look at him checking in.
Hey, Bert. Cool,
He'll,
cool,
he'll
cool.
talk. Yeah, he's so silly. What up, New York? Um, so Steph, how was your day? First of all, before we get into this,
Whew, what a day. In student life, it's always something, always
it's
something.
always something.
But I guess you learn flexibility. So I'm just going with that.
I do not envy you, my friend, at all.
Was
But
your day, LP?
um, I'm gonna be honest. It's been a struggle coming back from vacation. You know what I mean? So I'm like
Mm-hmm.
slowly building up again to all that. I was like, wait, what's my job? What do I do? It's been like that.
Mm-hmm. Hold on. Now I can't see you. Where did you
I'm
go?
right here. Your face is frozen though.
Oh, hold
Okay,
on.
and then we're looking at a chair and something
Mm-hmm.
purple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You are. It's just being slow. It's because I plugged my phone in to charge it, and now it's just
now it's
glitching.
acting up.
Mm-hmm. As
Yeah,
usual. Come on, baby. You can do it. I believe in
it,
you. Okay.
it's that
Things are
Trojan
loading.
Wi-Fi you got.
Look, I don't need to hear it from you because I hear it from the students all the time. All the time. Whew. For that tuition, they want the
Right.
Wi-Fi to work, and I'm like, that's not my department, friends, but
um, I'm excited, Steph, for this conversation.
I know, me too. I was just looking at the list of nominees again and all the comments when we were having discussions about them,
Yep.
and they're just so good, so special.
So, for people who are tuning in, first of all, I'm LT, and this is Stephanie, and we are the what's our titles? We are the organizers. Is that a good word?
Hmm. I think
Okay,
so.
Steph will come up with some other words too.
Hmm.
The brains. There we go. The brains behind the Catalyst Awards,
Wait,
which
let me add to that.
okay, uh,
The brain, but also the heart and soul behind the Catalyst Awards.
facts. Um, the Catalyst Awards honors the best storytelling about the first generation college experience in mass media and pop culture. This is actually year 4, and every year it gets bigger and I would say better as well. Um, Steph and I put a lot of hard work into this. And we will be talking about the history of it, but most importantly, over the next hour, talking about the 2023 nominees, um, leading up to the revelation of the winners in about a month, Steph. Dang,
I know. It's
it's
coming.
coming, man. So shout out to our judges this year. We have 50 judges from all over the country, from higher ed, from entrepreneurs like Bert, to professionals, to artists. So we're super excited and very thankful to have our judges. Now, Steph, I know you're mad at me because I won't let Steph judge, even though she wants to.
It's not that I want to judge. I just want to have like a like just a special award that I get to pick, so
Steph.
that if somebody I love doesn't win, I still get to give them like the Stephanie Award or something.
That, that's that's the American way.
I mean,
We let the
would it
people
be
vote until they
comparable?
vote wrong.
Look, if yeah, they should just start voting right the way I would vote, and then we won't have to worry
We
about
would
it.
have problems.
Exactly.
um, in actuality, what happens is throughout the year, Stephanie sends me text messages or leaves me voice messages like, "LZ, you need to watch this. You need to read this." And from there,
Yeah.
we start to pull together some nominees across different categories, and we've got some new categories this year, which we'll talk about. And then we
Mhm.
pulled together a ballot, and oh my God, it was so hard this year. We'll talk more about that. And then that
Mhm.
ballot goes out to the judges.
Yeah,
Okay, you
it
ready to
was
get
hard
into
this
it?
year. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so first category, everybody, is best fiction. And again, we're talking about representations of the first gen experience. And that not is not just college students, but sometimes pre-college, but a lot of the
Mhm.
times post-college too. So we're talking about first gen professionals. So drum roll for three nominees for best fiction include The House of Eve, The Do-Over, and
Mhm.
Demon Copperhead. Steph, when you see this list, what comes to mind for you? What makes you excited about these nominees?
Whew. I mean, I think it's just like every year we see more and more different narratives. I think there was definitely a time when the narratives about first gen college students weren't necessarily like what we wanted to represent us because they weren't nuanced and they didn't show like a diversity of experience. And now I look at these three nominees and I'm like, they're all totally different. If they didn't have this first gen component in common, you wouldn't put them in the same category. And I love that that's something that can reach like all different kinds of people, no matter what genre they're interested in. Um, without hitting them over the head, but the first gen narrative identity is at the center of these in a lot of ways. So that's what I love about them. What about you,
You
LT?
know, Steph, you got me thinking like I would love to see a time where actually there is some kind of like like a subgenre, but a subgenre of criticism, I should say, maybe like some first gen lit criticism. Like you said, ordinarily you wouldn't put these together, but they are addressing similar themes. So like I'm
Mhm.
looking at the House of Eve, for example, is focused on Black first gen women in the 1950s. And
Mhm.
then the do-over is very lighthearted,
Yeah.
again addressing intersectionality. The main characters are Asian American, which are underrepresented in the literature. And
Mhm.
then you have Demon Copperhead again, focusing on rural native experiences as well. I completely agree with you about the diversity.
Mhm. Yeah. I don't have anything else to say. I
You
said what I
said
said.
okay. I know why. I know why because um, I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm just putting all Steph's business in the street. I know that you're
Okay.
very excited about young adult fiction, and that which is our next category. Which, by the way, is a new category for us this year. Not because it
Yes.
hasn't previously existed. It's just that there were so many
Mhm.
strong nominees or strong options here that we decided to make a new category. So we have four this time, four nominees, and damn, it was hard not narrowing this down. But up first, Andre and Santi are here. Number two, Brighter Than the Sun. Number three, She is a Haunting, and I definitely want to talk about that in a second. And then number four, first year orientation, which was your nominee. Okay, tell us
And She is a
about that
Haunting
one.
was also my
Which one?
nominee, actually. She is a Haunting was also my
Oh my God.
nominee.
I think you just
I
dominated this
think
category. Okay,
that
why?
one.
Why? Talk us through it.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I love YA. I feel like some of these stories are written so much better than some just adult fiction that we see. And what I think I love about these four nominees and a lot of YA is that what they're exploring is identity. And a lot of times they're exploring that through what these characters can't control
Mm.
because they're minors, right? Like
Oh.
they don't have this agency to go out, live where they want to live, um, be out if they want to be out, like, decide like what they're going to do with their lives even. And so I feel like that that boundary that's put around it where they're still minors, it really shows a lot about their identities, what's important to them, and we kind of get to see the inner thoughts and feelings of these young people. And I think just like the fiction category, I mean, these are all so different. First year orientation, I
Tell
stumbled upon, and
us.
they're not
Yeah,
all.
say more. I'm so excited about that one. Truth, I haven't read it yet, but tell us about it.
Oh, let's see. I got the ebook right
Okay.
here. So this is a collection of short stories, all by different authors. Um, and it is not necessarily like every single story is not a first gen story. And many stories are very first gen coded, but they're not explicit about saying, like, I am a first gen. But what I like about that is that they are just presented as one of 16 students that, are at this college and getting ready to start school as an 18-year-old who just graduated high school, right? And so instead of like othering these students or making them, you know, presenting them as outsiders, they're presented as, one of these 16 that deserve to be there just like anybody else. Um, and their individual stories are part of that, and they're not hidden by any means, but they're just presented as, a fact of who they are, what their parents do, or where they're from, or whatever. And it does explore how those things impact them. But I don't think they're like tokenized, within these stories. I also love this because it is very lighthearted.
Yeah.
For the most part, I think it does a great job of exploring the things that make everybody nervous about college. I remember one of the chapters was saying that, like, when the kid went to the club fair, he was used to all the clubs in high school being like German club, soccer club, whatever. And then he gets to college and they have these crazy names.
Mhm.
And he's like, I can't even tell what they do by the name. Just some of those little, like, hidden curriculum kind of things. And some of them are social. Some of them are about like living in the residence halls. There's a story about a girl who pays her res hall fees late and gets
Mhm.
kicked out of her room. There's a story about someone
Ah.
whose parent works at the college. And there's a few stories about students whose parents are either immigrants or clearly like are coming from probably the non-dominant culture of the
Mhm.
college, and how that is impacting them. And just, I think, even just small things, little things, the things that parents don't understand, getting made fun of for wearing thrift store clothes or having a suitcase that's like rickety, um, or just feeling like people are looking at you, even if you don't know that they're judging you, right? And so I think it just gets into a lot of the little things that make starting this college experience so exciting, but also so nerve wracking, and what the different challenges that all these different types of students are facing. One other thing that I like about it is that the characters will show up in other stories. So you
Oh.
get to see like the other side of it. Like you hear, this girl's story first, and then a few stories later, all of a sudden her roommate that, she
Oh.
was trash talking pops up, but you hear her side of the story and what she's been going through and why she behaved a certain way. So I think it's really clever the way they wove it together while still keeping all the stories distinct, but you still get the feeling that they're all at the same school. I think this book is would be a great gift um, for anybody that's about to go to college and anybody that is around college going, future college going students that works in higher ed, because it's an easy read. Um, but it just reminds you of some of the things that you forget about as you get further and further away from your college years. So,
So you brought up a
yes.
lot of things, and for folks who are just joining us, we're talking about the young adult fiction category, the nominees for this year's Catalyst Awards. And Stephanie was just talking about first year orientation. Steph, you and I talk a lot about how we could like scale up the Catalyst Awards and make a big impact. I would love to see a book like First Year Orientation as part of like a common read or in these first year seminars or these trio programs or bridge programs. The other thing, my all-time favorite quote from Stephanie Youngblood is that
Oh God.
we're not all Oliver Twist, right? But I think that's so important that we really need to move away from what Stephanie and I refer to as these struggle narratives, right? Which is the way commonly first gens are talked about is deficit, is needing help, and all this type of stuff. And one of the intentions we have with the Catalyst Awards is actually to diversify that representation, just as you described. Before we move on, first of all, I want to say shout out to Robin Williamson, one of our judges, has joined us, who's from University of Central Arkansas. Um, but I also want to point out she is a haunting because Steph, there's a really interesting phenomenon I see happening with like first gen and gothic, right? That intersection. Anybody looking for some kind of like project, I think that's hot, right? Nobody's thinking about that. She is a haunting, falls in that genre of gothic. Last year, we also had a nominee, Uma. It was a horror
Yes.
movie, right? Remember that? A horror
Sandra
movie.
Oh, yes.
There's some good
Yes.
tropes there, y'all. Like, can we stop talking about like mentoring programs and start talking about like first gen and horror?
Well, I have so much to say about this. I love the horror, the gothic angle to it because I think so much of what first gens go through is about loss, and it's not all necessarily a negative loss. Um, but still, like, I think anything you lose, you have to mourn it, right? And it can still haunt you, even if you feel like you've made the best decisions and you're happy with the things you've done. Like, you're always leaving a little something behind, no matter where you go. And so I just love like this parallel um, with the gothic literature, and I would love to read more things within this genre that have first gen
It's
characters.
right there. Go ahead, y'all. Go lean into it. Lean into it. Look
Yes.
at it. Write about it. Create more. Okay,
Oh, I love it.
you ready to go to a new category now?
I think so.
Okay. Another pop. Well, they're all hard. No, I'm not gonna lie. We're gonna keep saying this, but all right. Next
Mhm.
category is film. And these are four films, very different films. You're going to hear this over and over again from us, but addressing the first gen experience. So the four nominees are drumroll, Blue Beetle, A Million Miles Away, Wildflower, and Marisol. Okay, Steph, what comes to mind?
Oh,
What you
I
think?
mean, Blue Beetle, we all know and love Xolo Marileño. Come on. I
We
mean,
should invite him to the chat, man.
I'm about to slide in the DM because listen, I could have watched it on mute. He was just so cute. I could have just watched the whole thing on mute and been like, go
Oh,
on, fly
boy.
around. Amazing. But okay, first of all, I need to give a little like bias shout out. But this was filmed in Puerto Rico,
Oh my
so I have a little
God.
bit of bias for this.
Here we go. Go
Even
with
though they said it was
Laisla.
Florida, they said it was Florida, but if you know, you know. And I think what I love about this is like two things. Number one, it's exploring the post-college experience.
Ooh, okay.
And what does it mean to go home again? And what does it mean to navigate the expectation that a degree is going to equal a job and financial security, and that doesn't always happen right away.
Yeah.
Um, Especially when you're back into like the family dynamic, which is the second thing I love about this. Yes, he is, Jaime is the superhero, the main character, the superhero, but his whole family is part of the crew. Everybody's
Yeah,
there. His sister had me
I
rolling the whole time.
love
I love
her.
her. They need to give her a spinoff.
Yeah.
The
Ooh.
abuela, the parents, and you just got to see like these little short conversations or like very brief moments that added so much nuance to the relationships that they had with one another and really illustrated what their values
Mhm.
were, which I think is something that like you don't always see that in these superhero movies. So bringing the family into it, I just felt like it was like an unexpected
Yes.
angle, but it was very authentic and real and like believable. I believe that his abuela would be fighting next to him. Like they made me believe.
The hair came down.
Look, they don't play with that chancleta. Like you can push it, but only so far. So
Um, so yeah, so Blue Beetle, A Million Miles Away, Wildflower, and Marisol, which by the way, Marisol, if I'm not mistaken, was nominated by students at Georgia Tech, I believe. So shout out to Dr. Charmaine Troy and her students at Virginia, I mean at Georgia Tech, who were taking a class on first gens and pop culture. I just want to talk about something that wasn't nominated, Steph, that we talked a lot about, and that was Spider-Man, the latest one with Miles Morales. And you and I went back and forth about this. Ironically, last year, Spider-Man, is it? I'm gonna get them all wrong. Whatever, Homecoming, the last live action one, actually won
yeah.
last year, but this year, while we appreciate everyone who did nominate the latest Spider-Man movie with Miles Morales, one of the things we got, I mean, this just shows more about how this particular genre is starting to grow, actually, is that we felt like that particular movie, while it did have some themes, just wasn't as explicit as these other four were. So we wanted to acknowledge the work that series is doing, and acknowledge that yes, Miles Morales would be considered like first in the college once he gets there. It's just that these particular four ones just was hammering it. Like I mean, there were a couple other ones that we could have put in this category too. It was
Yeah.
just we had to cut it down. We had to cut it down.
Oh, it was so hard. We had like six or seven, and I was like, I can't pick one to get rid of because they all had something special. But I think you're right, LT. Like these, it was really central to the story in a different kind of way.
I mean,
So
and I think this is a good problem to have right now. Like, oh my gosh, that means that we're starting to see more representation. But spoiler alert, y'all, wait till we get to the TV gap category, which we're going to talk about last, actually. Woo!
I still
Uh,
have feelings about the
I know,
TV category,
we
but I'll
remain
hold them
friends.
off.
Okay. So Steph, you had a big impact on this next category, which is the documentary category, which I think I think it might be new. Now that I think about it, so
Mhm.
two nominees for best documentary about the first gen experience. One of them is from a new filmmaker, Cynthia Martinez, and that movie is called First Voice Generation. And then also, I Will Soar is the other nominee, which I hadn't heard of before, but you did, Steph. Tell us about that movie, I Will Soar, because I didn't know about it.
I don't even know how I found out about it, but it's essentially about a coach who sends record numbers of uh sent record numbers of students to university, first generation students to university. And so it's really about the coach and how he did that, like how he took these players who are struggling with very real problems. I think it talks about how like some are single parents. Um, they're just dealing with a lot, right? And they're first gens. And how did he help them not just succeed, but really thrive in, you know, in terms of their whole person, like not just as football
Yes.
players. I don't know. It always makes me think of Friday Night Lights. I'm like, is this Coach Taylor? No, it's Coach Jackson, but he's the new Coach Taylor. And I don't know. He just finds a way to not only have like a winning football season and help them be successful in that way, but help them go to school, which is an amazing accomplishment because sometimes it just takes that one person that tells you that they believe in you and that you can do it to help you start thinking about college differently. Um, and so I just thought that was really special.
And from what I can gather, like first gen is like a big part. It's not like a secondary thing. Like they're kind of explicit about the students being first
Mhm.
gen to college. You don't have to guess. You know what I mean? You mentioned Friday Night Lights, which is my all-time favorite show, but also it
Mhm.
reminds me of Last Chance U, which was that
Yeah.
Netflix series,
Ah,
which
so good.
actually won a Catalyst Award, I think first year or something like that.
Mhm.
So that I think that's another sort of intersection looking at student athletes and the first gen
Yeah.
experience. More of that.
Yeah. And I'm going to add one more
Uh-oh.
thing that's interesting about
Yes.
this documentary is that um, one of the angles that it really portrays and leans into is the religion angle, the spirituality angle,
Ooh.
and how that impacted them, and how the coach, used that to help them succeed. And so, like, however you feel about that kind of thing, whatever your faith is, I think it's a really interesting angle to
Mhm.
explore of like what role does that play um, when you are a mentor to students and you share the same
Yeah.
faith or at least like some similar principles, tenets, beliefs. Um, like how and when do you use that? It's like kind of a fine line sometimes, in certain places, certain situations. But in this case, it was something that really, um, I think was like a big part of these students' success. So it's just an interesting angle and something that I haven't seen combined with first gen narratives before.
I'm laughing because I just texted Steph yesterday about she's able you're always able to find the gaps, right? And so you're absolutely right that I shout out to Corey Tucker Price, one of my former students from UCLA, Dr. Corey Tucker Price, who also is interested in this intersection between like first gen identity and spirituality, and it is not explored. Again, if you're just joining us, we're going to stand on this soapbox to say we don't need
Yeah.
um, no more essays about mentoring programs, y'all. Can we start looking at some other things? We don't need to keep talking about Tara Yasso. Shout out to her, but let's move the conversation forward. Okay, let's look at
Mhm.
some other things as well. Okay,
Mhm.
speaking of
That.
moving forward, we're about to get into this Instagram category. Woo!
Hey.
So
Right.
this is new, and I think it's honestly, it's really worth exploring how
Mhm.
and why it is that we're starting to see more folks talking about their first gen experience using the
Mhm.
Instagram platform. Like that by itself could just be a whole conversation. So this year we couldn't ignore it anymore. We're like, we gotta have this is a vehicle by which
Mhm.
people are sharing their story. And if we're honoring narratives, then we had to look at it. So here are the four
Mhm.
nominees, and again, it was a tough one. Shout out to First Gen UC San Francisco. Go check out their
Mhm.
IG account. So dynamic.
Mhm.
Um, Foods and Medicine as well from UCLA.
Mhm.
Grad Life Grind and The Squeeze. Shout out to Ashley for her work
Mhm.
there. You want to talk about any of these stuff?
I mean, I don't even know what to say. I just keep picturing the foods and medicine. So I don't know. I just think it's something that people can overlook. But at the same time, Instagram is something that's accessible to pretty much everyone at this point. And sometimes, like seeing that little skit, or seeing that little piece of advice, or seeing other first gen students who are explicit about it, it can take 30 seconds of your day. You don't have to sit down and read a book or watch a movie or a documentary, but I think it's like an important piece of this media. So I'm glad it's a new category. And I'm excited to see more Instagram accounts that address these types of issues.
Yeah, same. And you know what? It just hit me from looking at it this for the first time. All of these are about grads. This is about post undergrad. This is UC San Francisco is all grad and professional school. Foods and medicine is about medical school. Grad life grind is all, I mean, as the name implies, and the squeeze is all about being a first gen professional. So that's something that's, I think, particularly noteworthy as well. That like folks, it's talking about like the first gen experience beyond college, right? And then how that identity continues to persist and really people just
Mhm.
helping one another, right? Addressing the hidden
Mhm.
curriculum and
Yeah.
kind of like using this as a way to give back.
Hmm. Well, I would also say like it's interesting because I guess sometimes, maybe in undergrad you're just trying to make it
Right?
through. Like you just got here, but there's a growing confidence where by the time they get to grad school, they're kind of saying like, I do deserve to be here, and I also want to hold the door open for those who are
I
next.
love that.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. Again, follow us if you want some thesis ideas, you want some panel ideas. We're the people to check in with. Okay,
Yeah.
whew, another tough category, which is memoir. One, two, three, four, five. Five nominees for this one. They are First Gen by Alejandra Campoverdi, Crying in
Mhm.
the Bathroom by Erica Sanchez, The Forgotten Girls by Monica Potts. We're going to make her, you ain't right. You're so biased. We're going to make Monica our new best friend. Brown Boy by Omer Aziz, and The Golden Ticket. I forget the author's first name is Irene, and I'm forgetting her last name right now. But I'll to
Smith.
compensate for huh?
It's Smith.
That's it.
It's,
Oh,
yeah, you thought too hard
I
about
thought
it.
too
It's
hard. I
Irene.
was like, what? Uh, to compensate, I'll talk a bit about The Golden Ticket, which I thought was super interesting. So it's both like it's a memoir, but also Irene is telling her story about what it's been like to be a professional,
Mhm.
what do you call it, consultant, right?
Mhm.
Professional consultant for folks, particularly people who are able to pay for college advising. And so she's contrasting
Mhm.
her experience being first gen, coming from an immigrant background, with helping people here in the domestic folks who are trying to get into Stanford. So I'm excited about all of them, but I just wanted to talk to like really highlight that one.
Mhm.
What do you want? I know what you want to talk about. I'm a guest, but what what do you want to say?
You know that I love this book. I have it right here. I keep it close to me. Monica, call me. Slide in the DMs. It's just so good. I'm gonna give a quick pitch about this, about a couple things that it does that are unique and special. Essentially, this is a story of the author and her childhood friend who are both gifted but working class poor, growing up in the Ozarks, and how their paths really diverged once they became older. One of them going on to write for the New York Times, write this memoir, and the other kind of caught up in a very different life and a lot of the traps that keep people in these types of towns, such as meth, such as poverty, and so on. Um, I feel like we don't always see these like rural
White.
working class poor type stories. Um, and we tend to conflate first gen identity with always being a student of color. There's kind of this like unspoken assumption, like, oh, you're talking about like brown and black
Hmm.
people when you talk about first
Yeah.
gens. Um, but that's actually like, if you look at the demographics, they
It's
don't
white
like
people.
necessarily represent that. Yeah. Is white people there too? And as, look, I'm not here arguing for like white representation. I'm just saying that there are like rural working poor stories that need to be told and other angles. And that helps everyone because it helps us think about the diversity of first gen and not just conflate it with black and brown students. Um, but I think the other thing that she does so well in this is show the intuition that a lot of first gen students have about where they are from that outsiders do not have. And so this author, Monica Potts, is able to write so eloquently and so insightfully about, you know, the Ozarks and what it's like there because she is from there. And that's like a first gen superpower
Ooh,
that I feel like people just overlook all the time.
ooh. You know why it's important though? When you said you're
Mhm.
not arguing for white representation, when you look at who voted for Donald Trump, is undereducated white people, right? It's a big gap. People who are not college educated, and so they are completely overlooked, and we need to be paying attention to that population 100%. And it's so funny. One of our other judges just joined the call, Dr. Mary Wallace, who is at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, by the way. And she and I have had a lot of conversations back and forth just about that representation of that rural experience, right? We're starting to see it a little bit more. Like there's a couple movies, can't remember. There's a couple ones like about the Rust Belt and things like that. But I think it would be great
Mhm.
if people thought about them as a category and started to look more closely because it's not in the research for sure.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
we've got three more categories to go, Steph. Um,
Mhm.
Up next is another new category for us with the Catalyst Awards, and that is the nonfiction. Oh, so Mary says she's watching A Million Miles Away right now. She just
If y'all don't know A Million Miles Away, it's about a first gen astronaut. Yes, a first gen astronaut. We are in space
we're in
now. It's
space, y'all.
official.
We know that from Star Wars. We're in space.
Okay.
um, Nonfiction category. Three nominees this year for the first time ever. So shout
Mhm.
out to the folks in this groundbreaking category. So by nonfiction, we're not talking about research, y'all. We actually have deliberately not
Mhm.
made a category for the best, so-called scholarly work. That's not what the Catalyst Awards is all about. So the three nominees are The Latinx Guide to Graduate School, Know That You Are Worthy, which is a collection of essays, actually a collection of personal writings, and Rising Class, which focuses on a couple of first-gen students. Oh, look at you! Look at you!
I came prepared. I
You
did my
do keep
homework.
prepared. I cut myself off. Rising Class focuses on some first-gen students who went through their first year of college and COVID and what that experience was like. So it, you got Rising Class in your hand. You want to talk about that one? You want to talk about any of the other ones?
I have Rising Class in my hands. This, just a little bit about this, is about three different first gen college students. One's an Ivy League student. One goes like 1,000 miles away for college, and one goes to community college and is living at home. I love that these three different experiences are all in the same book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because I think sometimes we see this like Ivy League narrative like all on its own a lot. It's like, Miguel, it's like the struggle narrative. Miguel came from, the school of hard knocks, lived on the wrong side of the tracks, but somehow he
And
overcame,
went to
all his
Harvard.
deficits. And now he's at Harvard. And then that's it. That's like where the story ends. And I'm like, okay, what happened to Miguel next? Like, did y'all treat him right? Is he happy there? Like, tell me more. Um, so anyway, I like that this kind of has that juxtaposed against a couple different identities, different experiences. It's the only one on here, I think, of all the nominees that really deals with COVID. And I guess I'll say I'm partial to Connor's story in here, which is, I think, at its heart, really about the push and pull of home, which Bell Hooks talks about really beautifully in this other book
Oh
that I
my
have up here, but I
gosh.
can't
Now
read.
you turn into a librarian.
You know what? I should have been a librarian, but I just love the way she talks about that craving for independence. Um, but then as soon as you get to campus, you're like, I don't belong here. And now what?
Mm.
Um,
You know what though? That reminds me of a previous winner. Why am I totally blanking on that movie? Um, oh my gosh. Okay. He created Hamilton. Why am I totally blanking?
Lin-Manuel
Lin-Manuel. Okay, what's the
Miranda,
movie?
the movie about
No,
him.
no, no. The movie that he made is not Hamilton.
Oh, In the
In the
Heights.
Heights, right? We need to go on a game show.
Of
Yes, In the
thousand
Heights.
dollar pyramid or
The
something.
story,
Yes.
yeah, like what happens after you get to the height. Yes, thank you. After you get
Hmm.
to your elite school, what happens after that?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
wait, Tom Dixon is here. Tom, you have to remind us. Are you judging this year? I always forget. I know I've been trying to get your ass to judge, but remind us if you. Tom, a fellow pop culture aficionado and comic
Hmm.
person as well. Okay, so I can't be outdone by you. So I've got here "Know That You Are Worthy," by edited by Adam Rodriguez,
Yeah.
and then
Love.
um, so again, these are like a lot of these are personal narratives by folks who
Hmm.
are first gen professionals, so not current students, but folks who are
Hmm.
faculty, folks who are administrators and leaders, talking about their own personal experience. So this is a really good one as well. So check that out, y'all. But shout out to all three of these nominees. All
Hmm.
right, now, whoo, child, here we go. This is where our friendship was tested. Not at all. Never, never, never. Okay. All right. So we are down to podcast.
Hmm.
Man, I think it's very similar to Instagram, just in terms of where people are choosing to tell their narrative. So this was year
Hmm.
three, I think, of podcast. Yeah, this was year three. All right. So the nominees. Whew, all right. No, nominee number one, Thesis, season
And
two, Keeping the Hustle. Number two, How to Be First, episode one, and I believe that's from University of Nebraska, Kearney. So they're so adorable. Number three, K Pasta HSIs, that episode focuses on student perspectives on servingness. Number three, Good School, community college students investigate the complexities of higher education. They're out of the city of Baltimore. And then lastly, a two-time nominee,
yes.
Writing on My Mind by Dr. Emanuela. And that episode features Dr. Jason, who is a first-gen professional and professor now at the University of Mississippi. So, damn, Steph, this was so hard. And there's so many great podcasts out there. It was really difficult.
Mhm.
But what stands out to you about these? Why these? Why do we nominate these?
Oh,
How'd they make it to
God.
the
Well,
ballot?
okay. I have two that I want to talk about,
Okay.
but I'll be fast about
Okay.
them. I'm going to start with the Thesis podcast only because this episode in particular talks about first gen students in Ghana and Zanzibar and Tanzania. Oh, Zanzibar, Tanzania.
Amazing.
Um, and we don't like we don't hear about that really. Um, when you search for first gen literature, like it's not about students in other countries typically,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, it's just something that we don't really hear about. And so I think it's just interesting, like for two reasons. It's just a new perspective, number one. And number two, it gives you as a listener opportunity to put yourselves in their shoes and kind of become first gen again, um, because we're learning about their higher ed system and the the challenges that are similar and different. So I love that one. And you know I'm a sucker for the podcasts
With
by the
the
kiddos. I
babies.
just the babies. But I have a reason. It's not just because they are adorable. It's also because they're brilliant and they get to tell their own
That's it.
stories. And they're not looking back with all of this wisdom that you get like 20 years later. They're in it. They are in the middle of it. And so you get to see them making sense of their experiences in real time and supporting one another in real time. And I just, mm, I love Good School in particular. I love that they talk about not wanting to go to college. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Again, that Ivy League narrative is often coupled with the like, even though everything was terrible, you know, I always knew that I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
get out, make it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this other perspective of like not wanting to go to college and thinking about who we tell should, who we tell to go to college and why, and what the messaging is and how students receive that from a very young age, and then what can change that for them is very interesting. And I think they did a great job talking about that.
I'll pick up on that and
Mm-hmm.
highlight how to be first. Like I said, University of Nebraska Kearney, not University of Nebraska Lincoln, not like the flagship school.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when we talk about why we've created this awards, it's also acknowledging that just like other institutions and systems, there's a lot of elitism, right? There's a lot of elitism in the publishing industry. And the reality is that the memoirs that are getting published are often often have that same sort of narrative, like, oh, I started off poor and then I ended up at Harvard or Stanford in some kind of way. Like, for who's gonna be focusing and publishing narratives about students who went to the University of Nebraska Kearney, right? Not many people. So I'm so excited that we have tools like podcasts, so students from these places where most first gen students are, to be honest, get to tell their own story, and it is not the same kind of story that you might find in someone's
Mm-hmm.
like dissertation project or something like that.
No. And I love it. I love just like the elevation of just the, like you said, the average first gen student. It's like when I think about the sitcoms or whatever that's on TV or half of these podcasts, it's just a guy. It'll just straight up be like a guy just talking. And I'm like, you got a show by doing that? Like it's nothing special and they have to be
Yeah.
so great, so much greater, but at the same time, they are so much greater. It's like, imagine if they really, really, really tried. Like, imagine if they did this as their full time job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're so great at this, just doing it, you know, pretty much as a hobby. I love them. You know, I love the babies.
We
The
love
children
the
are the
We
future
love the
and all of
babies.
that.
Yeah. Shout out to For the Gin. Last year's winners, that it was a student led, student run podcast coming out of Loyola Marymount University. And in fact, they have now work study positions. So students get paid to run their podcast. So we hope that other schools will do something similar and look, again, it's all about having the students be in control of their own narrative, right? And if you could find a way to pay them, do it. Okay, the reality is for this last category, which is TV, we could probably spend the whole time just talking about every single one of these nominees. We won't do that, but we will talk about a couple of them. This was so difficult, y'all, to narrow this down. And there were some really great shows that didn't even make it to our ballot, but that were also nominated. So here we go. One, two, three, four, five. Five. Number one, Primo.
Hey.
Shea Serrano's, like his very first TV show, his foray into that. Tiny Beautiful
Mhm.
Things on Hulu, which is based on a novel. Abbott Elementary, two-time nominee Abbott Elementary, I should say.
Mhm.
Reservation Dogs, two-time nominee and previous winner for season
Mhm.
3. Power Book 2, I believe another previous nominee as well. So
Mhm. Yeah.
for Power Book 2, Ghost is on Stars. Man, okay, well, I'll go first. I'll go first, and then
I know you want to talk about Power Book. Just go ahead. I know you do. I know you can't wait.
Power Book 2 is completely flying under people's radars. So it's interesting stuff because it does take on the surface that narrative of like, oh, what happens when the first gen who goes to an elite school. What's different about it? So Black and Latinx cast for the most part. Almost all
Mhm.
the students that are focused on are first gen. Some of them
Mhm.
are from working class backgrounds, but the lead is actually from wealth, right? Now,
Mhm.
his father got that money through a criminal lifestyle, but his hope, kind of very much like The Godfather, is that the son,
Mhm.
Tariq, would actually go legitimate, right? And so the only way Tariq can access this money is to go to college. It's such a
Mhm.
unique um, storyline. You also got some um, Afro Latinos, Afro Latino family, Black and Puerto
Mhm.
Rican as well. So again, also first gen, you got this mom who doesn't want her daughter to go to college. Like it's okay for the boys to go, but not for the daughter to go. I just think it's
Mhm.
so unique. So more people need to
Mhm.
be watching Power Book 2. I think it's hampered by being, but not everybody has stars. You know what I
I
mean,
was
right?
about to say, who got
Yeah.
stars? You need to give me the password.
I,
Text me later the password. I'll watch it if I get the
if
password.
Power Book 2 was on Netflix, more people would be talking about
Oh
it. Okay, I'm done. Back to you.
yeah.
You
You know I want to talk about
I
all of
do.
these
I
for
know.
days.
I got two. You only got two, girl.
Okay, wait. Quick shout out to Tiny Beautiful Things. I have not seen it yet, but LT
Oof.
let me know that the mother and daughter in this series actually go to college at the same time.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And a lot of students think if their parent like goes to school at the same time as them, that they're not first gen anymore. Babies, you
Babies,
still
you
are.
still are.
Um, um, I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Abbott Elementary. You know I love me some Quinta. Always
We
have.
love you,
Shout out to
Glenda.
Quinta from the BuzzFeed days. Always loved her. And amazing to see her be so successful, which she deserves 100%. One of my other
Well, hold
favorite
on before you
actresses is
move
Taraji
on.
P.
So
Henson.
hold on
Yeah.
before I know what you're building up to, but just with Abbott Elementary, it's the episode specifically when the mom comes, when
Yes.
Janine's mom comes to visit.
Yes.
Ooh, the first gen.
Taraji.
Ooh,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay. Now back to you.
It's so good. It's just, I love it. Um, I think even when you go to college, get a degree, get a job in the field that you studied, and you know, do all the things, there's still going to be a disconnect if your parents did not work in that type of setting. Um, and just it's just cool to see them kind of show how that impacts the
Ooh,
relationship to have her mother in a professional setting where she's not necessarily following the rules. Um, but in a way, it also prepared her to deal with the principal of that school, who's also a little bit off. But yeah, it's just very, very cool to see almost like a reverse fish out of water type of
mm.
thing, where like, okay, at first you were the first gen student in college being the fish out of water, but now your parent is in your like kind of turf that you're now comfortable in. And what does that look
Ooh.
like?
Oh my God, you're so smart, Steph. Okay. However, what you
You
really
know,
want to talk about is
reservation dogs. Oh, if you're not watching Reservation Dogs.
You're not watching.
You just need to drop everything, quit your job, just get to Hulu and watch it. It is so good. And the episode that's nominated this year is called Alora's Dad.
Oh,
She helped write it. The actress who plays Alora helped write this episode. Whew, I feel like I'm gonna get emotional. This episode is so crazy. It is about Alora needing to fill out
mm,
the FAFSA, but it's not just about her needing to fill out the FAFSA. It's about something that I feel like is so common and so under discussed, which is your parents' role in filling out the FAFSA.
ooh, girl, I got chills.
It is like, mm, I just, okay, I don't even know where to start with
Mm,
this. She basically has to go off and find her dad. I don't want to give like too many
yeah,
spoilers,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
she has to go off and find her dad to help her fill out the FAFSA form.
Mm,
Um, and it honestly just goes to show you how many barriers there can be for first gen students. I'm not saying every first gen student like doesn't know where their father is or anything like that, but you're already dealing with all the other barriers.
right.
So when you have something else on top of it like this, um, like you already don't know what the FAFSA is. I'm in my final semester of like my doctoral program, and every time I have to fill out the FAFSA, I'm like,
Here we go again.
a pin? What pin? Whose
Who's
pin?
that's
It's
that's the title of the
just,
article. Whose pen?
listen, every year that pin gets me. But yeah, I don't know. It's just such, I feel like almost like a millennial plot line in a way, because the FAFSA, it was just everything to us. I can't speak for like other generations, but I feel like I was coming of age and getting ready for college at a time when it was like the FAFSA or bust. Like that was it. And there was this weird pressure to fill it out perfectly. And
Mm-hmm.
as a first gen, you're already like paranoid about what you don't know. And so to have this like financial paperwork thrown in front of you, and then a lot of times you're walking your parents through
Exactly.
it. Um,
Yes. Like actually asking them for. Oh my gosh. Still, again, still,
I mean, I don't know
still
about you,
scarred.
LT, but my parents were like, "That's none of your
Correct.
business."
Who wants?
Like,
Who wants to know?
listen, I mean, really, they were just like, "That's you're a child, and that's not your business to know." And I was like, "I need it for college," and they were just like, just opt
Mm-hmm.
out. And it's like you can't opt out of the FAFSA. And
Mm-hmm.
just to think about somebody that needs to go find their father that they haven't seen in so long, and all of the baggage around that. Um, because you have this other end goal in mind that's complicated in and of itself, um, and you don't know if that parent is even going to support, um, for a lot of reasons. They might just not know about it. They might be jealous that you're going to college if they feel like you're going to be more
Yeah.
successful than them. They can use it as a tool of control. So I feel like there's just so many things that could be further discussed just based on this episode. Like if y'all want to do a panel about this issue in this episode because it can go a million more places. Um, and this obviously, I don't know if y'all can tell, but this is like my favorite Res Dog. It's like in my heart. It is part of me now. And I just love, love, love this
Well,
episode.
this is why representation matters, right? It's a good example of why, again, why we have these awards. Like imagine like you're running
Mhm.
some type of high school program, pre-college program, before they have to fill out that FAFSA, have them watch this episode, right?
Mhm.
And talk it through. Like what is Laura going through? What are they going through? And then have
Mhm.
your FAFSA workshop. I think that's a
Mhm.
fantastic sort of program,
Mhm.
to be honest, right? And I think we got to
Mhm.
stop. We got to move away from like pop culture, TV over here, and research and scholarship over here. The fact of the matter is, these TV shows are far more progressive than a lot of these, a lot of the scholarship that's coming out anyway. So why not like put them
Mm-hmm.
together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, they're pushing the envelope and just bringing to light things that are not talked about in the research necessarily. And I don't know, it just makes it accessible. Like, what student wants to sit down and just immediately in the FAFSA workshop be looking at
Right,
that form? Like,
right,
no one. No one wants to look at it at
right.
any time. So something that makes it okay for them to be afraid of it also, I think, is important.
I'm writing that down.
Mhm.
Um, So we've gone through all of these different categories. The winners will be announced February 19th
Mhm.
at the annual First Year Experience Conference in Seattle. This is the first time we're doing that stuff. So we've just grown a
Yeah.
lot as an entity in terms of doing this. So super excited. Again, Steph and I don't vote, but we're so thankful for all of our volunteer judges who are really doing a lot of hard work. But Steph, I
Mhm.
know you've reached out to some of these nominees, and that I think
Yeah.
you may be going live with some of them. Who are you hearing from?
Ooh, let's see. Well, definitely with the thesis podcast.
Okay.
TBD on the dates and times, but they are coming. Definitely with I Will Soar, with the writer and director of I Will
Oh
Soar.
my God.
Yeah. And what's the other one? The Forgotten Girls, Monica Potts, If I Get My Way.
Put it out there in the universe. I
Barbara
know
Kingsolver, Demon Copperhead, If I Get My Way. I'm speaking it into
I know the
existence.
guys from Foods
Um,
and Medicine um said yes. We just got to get back to them. Or they got to get back to
okay.
us.
Yeah, yeah. I think She Is a Haunting is a PBD. Fingers crossed on that one. And then what was the other one? Who was the other one?
Um I think you heard from Cynthia from First Voice Generation.
Oh,
Check the
yeah.
DM.
Yes, but there was one more in the
What?
inbox. Oh, hold on. Who was it?
Okay, as you look that up, I see Carol Raby's here. Carol is a two-time judge for us as well, if I'm not mistaken. Carol, if I got that wrong, correct me. But I know you've judged for more,
Mhm.
at least 1 year, maybe at least 2 years, I believe. So, um, and also as Steph is looking that up, anytime folks, you
Mhm.
all are seeing something that has a first gen theme, thanks, Carol. Feel free to message us and First Gen and Juice and say, just say, hey, I'm watching this, I'm reading this, and consider nominating it. And
Mhm.
who knows, it might happen.
Yeah. I would say even if you see something that's not necessarily like a whole episode or a whole book about uh first gen themes, but there might be like an interesting conversation or comment. I mean, share it because like I would love to jump on and talk about it or do a little pop culture analysis and share it on the First Gen and Juice page. So,
Yay! Shout out to First and Flourish that was hanging out with us tonight and listening. Thank you so much for all the work that you're doing on your platform as well. And then I think, Steph, I think that's all I got over here. Any final words on your end? I'm going to go to
um,
Zumba in a minute.
I'm gonna find out who else is coming. Oh, maybe Dr. Adam about Know That You Are Worthy. You might have a conversation with him.
You're going to be busy,
Uh,
Steph.
and oh,
What?
um, also, Rising Class,
Oh,
Jennifer Miller.
yeah, Jennifer Miller. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff.
I'm excited. I'm waiting for Res Dogs to call me back, waiting for Monica Potts to call me back, and waiting for Barbara Kingsolver to call me back. So if any of y'all have their numbers,
Solo.
let me know. I won't tell where I got it from, but I I would
Think
die.
about it.
So,
It's going to happen. We're going to speak it into existence. Our goal really is to turn the Catalyst Awards and First Gen and Juice platform into like a major nonprofit, very similar to GLAD, for example, the impact that GLAD has had on representations of queer folks, right? And impacting policy, impacting screenwriters. We hope to do something similar with the First Gen experience, so-called non-traditional students, community college experience as well, because these images are out there, but people aren't necessarily talking about them in a very intentional type of way. So that's what we're changing. That's the work that we're doing. 4 years in already, can't wait to see what the future looks like.
yes. It gets better every
100%. All right, girl, I'm gonna go put my sneakers on and go down to the gym now.
Oh, okay. I'm not doing that. I have a sandwich I'm gonna eat, but I'm happy for you. I support you in your journey.
All right, girl, I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.